Welcome back, folks, and tonight we're just going to look into a very quick description of inventions that we seem to be having a little bit of a difficulty with during class. So we're going to talk about the early inventions, things that happened way back at the beginning. We're going to look at what they do, what effect did they have then, and what effect do they have on us now. Because whether we realize it or not, these things do have an effect on us now as well. We would not be where we were, or where we are, pardon me. We would not be anywhere near where we are right now without any of these inventions that have happened. Okay, we looked at this set of inventions that in our reading in class were called landmark inventions, things that were made that were very, very important. Landmark. First, the very important things, the things that you need to remember, the things that everybody remembers. Where everything began. Pardon me. We have 12 landmark inventions that were developed between 1794 and 1906 that helped us grow as a country. A lot of them you're not going to recognize. For example, we have the Edison kinetographic camera. Voila! The Edison kinetographic camera shows moving pictures. This is a landmark thing because pictures really didn't move before. It was just still frame shots. Now we look at this thing and we go, this looks nothing like any cameras I know, but this is where all of those movies that we go see started. This is where it all began, right here. With Thomas Edison, as we can see, T.A. Edison, kinetographic camera. This is where it all started in 1897 when he got his patent for this. So we have a camera, shows moving pictures. It is very big. It's a very big deal. I know most of you are going to look at it and go, no, it's really not. But yeah, it kind of is. It's the first of its kind. Was it improved on? Yeah, it was improved on. Was it made better? Yes, absolutely. But this is where the movies began. So far we have one down. A moving picture camera. Number 2. Charles Derea and his gas-powered automobile. Again, we don't think of this as a big deal. In 1895, it was. I know this looks nothing like a car you look today. You don't look outside and see this in your driveway. However, when we look at this, it looks pretty much like a wagon that you would have a horse on the front of. And that's mainly what people rode around in at that point in time. They were still riding around in horse-drawn buggies. So this, while not being a speedster or speed burner, something that you're going to leave rubber with on the ground, it got you around a little bit quicker and a little bit easier. I believe the top speed was about 10 or 15 miles an hour. So we have now our first 2 inventions. We have our invention of the camera with moving pictures and our car, which of course led to the modern day automobile today. We have a diesel combustion motor. Now we're not talking about this amazing motor. It's just the first of its kind. Runs on fuel. It is the first one that we can actually use. It was a practical motor. It wasn't one of these gigantic, ginormous motors that you couldn't use anywhere but outside. This one, finally, you can bring it inside a building and use it. You can bring it anywhere and run it. It leads us to the motors and the machines of today in the factories. This is what's going to help us become more, more technologically advanced. We have the McCormick Reaper, which some of us have questioned me on a few times. Really what this is a way to pick your crops without doing it by hand. As a farmer, your job is very painstaking. It takes a long time to do. So, of course, everybody's going to be looking for a new and better way to do their job. And here it is. You hook 2 horses up to the front poles. You pull it along the ground where your items are growing up out of the ground. It plucks them out of the ground, and right here is where it catches it. It takes what took you days to do previously to hours. And now you see modern versions of these on the farm. You see those gigantic watering machines and gigantic tractors that do the same job that this did. So all of these are connected. We have to realize that without these, and I'm going to keep repeating this, without these inventions, without these landmark inventions, nothing that we know today is going to be the same. Our next invention will be the Wright brothers airplane, 1907. Looks nothing at all like the plane we know. Right? It looks nothing at it. You look at it, it looks nothing like what we think about. When we think airplanes, we think big, gigantic jet engines on the side of the plane, 600 miles an hour, 30,000 feet in the air. This one lasted about 7 minutes, a couple feet off the ground, at a few miles an hour. Looks nothing like it. And imagine without them, without the people who everybody thought was crazy, because how dare you challenge the laws of God and physics to prove a point? But they did. And here we are today traveling 9, 10, 12, 22 hours in the air because of this one simple invention. Here's another one that we don't realize. How many of you realize that without this telegraph, we wouldn't have the messages that we have now? Because to me, the telegraph is like the text message of its day. Getting a message from somewhere very quickly, within minutes, seconds sometimes, could be the difference between life and death. And they had to figure out how to do this. Because before that, the messages would get across country on horseback, and that would take weeks. This takes maybe minutes, and it's there, and you know what's going on. Especially during the Civil War, it came in very handy when Lincoln needed to know what was going on the front. Like I said, this is like your text message of the day. This is that quick. And so now we move on. The cotton gin. We go again back to the farms. Eli Whitney makes this machine for him and his family to use. You drop the cotton with its seeds in the machine, you turn the handle, cotton goes to one side, seeds go to the other, cut your time in a third. You do a lot more in a lot less time. And of course, if you're a businessman like Whitney was, then doing a lot more in a lot less time saves you money and makes you more money. And of course, there's gonna be some effects that come out of this too that are not so nice. Before this invention, and before Eli Whitney decided that this was the way he wanted to go, slavery in the United States was actually on the downturn. We didn't stop using it, but we slowed down the use of slaves during that time period. But once Whitney's machine came out and he started selling it around after he got his patent, people started needing more workers. The need for more workers leads us to more slavery. So an institution that we all know is terrible, that was dying out, now all of a sudden needs more workers because farmers that own cotton plantations are now going to order more of these machines. So yes, while it has good effects, it also has bad ones as well. We look at the next one, the phonograph. I know most of us don't know what a phonograph is. Even if I said record player, you wouldn't know what a record player is other than something that a DJ scratches at a party. But if you can imagine, most people never really got the chance to hear music unless they went to a hall, which costed money to go to. In this case, now you could take your record that you put and you can put it on this machine or a little disc that they made and wind it up and you can play it and you can hear the music. And then most of us don't think much of this. But if you think about it, it takes that very large vinyl record and then they make it smaller. It becomes a smaller vinyl record until what we have now, it goes from 33 and a third, 45, 78 to an 8-track cassette player to a CD to now our MP3 files. So without, again, this is another one of those things, without this, we don't have what we have now. All of these things that we're going to mention, all of these 12 landmark inventions, and I'm going to keep saying that expression, landmark invention, because it is a very important thing. It is the first time it's ever been done. All of these inventions are going to lead us where we are. We don't have what we have without this. Linotype machine. May not sound like a big deal to you, but when it comes to printing papers and books and volumes and volumes of writing, this machine made it much easier to make the plates, the metal plates that the printers used to keep the production of the books coming. Again, another thing that we wouldn't have. I know you have the lovely textbooks that you love to read so much. Without that, who knows where we'd be right now. The sewing machine. This looks nothing like a sewing machine we have. My great-grandmother had one like this. It came in a large box, a big wooden case. We had it up until Hurricane Sandy in 2012. This, the one that we had, the sewing machine, we had to actually foot power it. So there'd be a foot pedal on the bottom, you'd press your foot down, and the bobbin would start to move and the thread would go down, and the thread would go in. In this one, in this particular picture, it looks like on the upper right-hand side we have a little bit of a hand crank action going there. So you would hand crank it and move whatever you're trying to sew along. Again, without this, we don't have the machines we have now. All of these things lend themselves to moving us along as a country, developing us. I know it sounds ridiculous to some of us, but these things really do move us along. The light bulb, made by Thomas Edison. 600 materials at least went into that filament that you see in the middle. He tried everything from cardboard to pine needles to toilet paper to anything you can think of before he settled on metal that would heat up and light up without exploding. Again, this is one of the most important landmark inventions because if you think about certain things, back in the day when he made this, once night fell, the day was done. You couldn't do anymore. Once the sun went down, you went to bed because you couldn't see. Maybe you had a kerosene lamp, which at that point were very dangerous. Maybe you had just a regular lamp, which again would not be very safe. So you probably didn't use that. And candles, we know, are not very safe if you leave them on a long time. So this was really, really huge that we managed to get electricity to power a light bulb because that increased our productivity. That gave us more time to do what we're doing, like what I'm doing right now. I'm sitting in my dungeon basement here with my lights on. Thank you to Thomas Edison. The typewriter. I know nobody knows the typewriter anymore. This original Scholes Glidden typewriter from, pardon me, from the late 1800s. You'd hit the buttons on the bottom, and the letters were on this little thing here, and the paper would be up on the top. You'd hit the keys, and you'd begin to type, and you'd see letters and words and everything formed that you never thought you'd see on a piece of paper before. That you thought you would have to wait for somebody to print from a company, and here you are, printing it in your own home if you're lucky enough or rich enough to have one. Again, this is another one of those things that without it, we don't go from the typewriter to the word processor to the laptop that we have. If we don't have this, maybe somebody comes up with something similar to it. Maybe somebody was working on it at the same time that Scholz and Glidden were. Again, all of these inventions are going to lead us back to the same conclusion, or they should, that we would not be anywhere near where we are as far as being advanced without it. Last question I'm going to leave you with right now. Maybe a question that you can think about for class. What would life be like without these inventions or the people who made them?